Welcome to Book Talk. For Bookoween this week, we'll be talking about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. So, oddly enough, the story doesn't follow either titular character, but a lawyer named Gabriel John Utterson. Mr. Utterson happens to be a close friend as well as the attorney of Dr. Henry Jekyll. One day he's out for his weekly walk with his cousin, Mr. Enfield, who tells him about a strange event he witnessed a while back. A man, who turns out to be Edward Hyde, trampled an 8-year-old girl in the early hours of the morning. Mr. Enfield brought him back to the scene of the crime and convinced him to pay off the family unless he wanted a scandal. Mr. Hyde went through a door and came back out with a check signed by another man of well repute, later revealed to be Dr. Jekyll. That evening, Mr. Utterson learns that Jekyll has written a will, making Edward Hyde his sole beneficiary in the case of his own disappearance for 3 calendar months. Obviously, Mr. Utterson is worried about his friend and tries to find out what's going on between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, though he thinks the latter is blackmailing the former in some way. A year later, the infamy of Mr. Hyde starts spreading like wildfire throughout London when he beats a man to death. The book ends with a letter from Dr. Jekyll, dictating everything that happened and why it happened. For those of you who don't know and don't want to know the circumstances around Jekyll and Hyde, I suggest you stop the video here or skip ahead. So, Dr. Jekyll explains in his letter that though he portrayed himself in public to be a morally upright man, he still had vices that he liked to indulge in private, but they always made him feel shameful. He created an elixir that would turn him into someone else so he wouldn't have to worry about his reputation if he was ever found out. He would drink an elixir to turn him into Hyde, then drink another to turn him back to Jekyll. Then, one day, he turned into Hyde without taking his elixir. In the end, Hyde completely takes over and Henry Jekyll is no more. I give this book 4 stars. I know a lot of us have heard of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde without having read the book or even knowing they're from a book, and that the term Jekyll and Hyde has been used countless times to refer to someone with 2 different sides to their character, usually one good and the other evil. But even knowing how it would end didn't make the book any less good. It was really easy and quick to read, and I think it has a wonderful message. To me, this book is a cautionary tale about how the pressures we put on ourselves to be perfect all the time and pretending we don't have a problem can be damaging, and that one day we could end up snapping and turning into a worse person than we could ever imagine. At least that's what I got from reading the book. Let me know what you think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Do you agree with me or do you have a different opinion? I'd love to hear. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time on Book Talk.